Welcome back to the Boomerang Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Drew. And today our episode is brought to you like it is every day by Midas Gold Group, where we work at. You know, obviously we have kind of inside pulse on how things work in the gold industry. And if there's any questions or anything that we can do to assist, text the number at the bottom of your screen. Give us a call. We're here every day, Monday through Friday. Big reason we like to do this, so is instead of having our individual conversations with people, here we can talk to hundreds of people at once, right? And these are really for people who want to get the truth, who want to get our opinion. And it is strictly our opinion, not financial advice. But yeah, anything with gold and silver, give us a call. Happy to help. Excited to jump into today's episode. Yeah. We've talked about Gold Bar Bob in the past and just had a couple updates that we found kind of, humorous, if you will. You want me to jump into it? Or?
Yeah, I mean, just to real quick, and I want you to describe the story, but it's a story that we've been following actually since the beginning of the podcast. And, we do these podcasts because, first off, we enjoy it. I think we have fun with this, right? Really cool guests. We had Juan on recently, Juan O'Savin, Jake Chansley, right?
Drew Hernandez.
Dr. Ken Hovind. Just amazing, just a star-studded cast, and we've been very fortunate in that sense. But, we don't want to just sell gold and silver to people. We want to give people a lens to understand what's really going on. And I like to think, for the last maybe 5 or 6 years, I've very much inserted myself into the Patriot community. And there's a lot of information out there that people are they're not getting. It's fake news by omission. And I think there's some really, what Drew and I really aim for is I think we want to bring a lot of that information, at least the very pertinent stuff, to people's attention, like the Gold Bar Bob story, right? And we had some new updates, right? Just to give some background, Bob Menendez, senator out of New Jersey?
Yeah.
Senator, right?
Yep. It was head of Intel committee, I believe.
Yeah, and he had some problems with some young girls a number of years ago, right? Maybe about a decade ago. Can't believe he got past that one. But the FBI raided his house and found, cash stuffed in jacket pockets, gold bars stuffed in jacket pockets, and it turned out to be bribes from an Egyptian,
a real estate mogul in New Jersey, also connected to the
Egyptian government.
Correct.
So give us an update, Drew.
Yeah, well, this is really just kind of interesting because, we did a whole episode where they found the gold bar or the gold bars at Bob's house, right? Well, I guess in 2013, the person who really bribed Bob, he got his gold bars stolen from him in 2013, to my understanding. They ended up finding the 4 people who stole the gold bars from this gentleman, and each gold bar has a serial number on it. So when he got his gold back, he had to register the serial numbers to him. Well, fast forward a decade, he's bribing Bob Menendez. He gets raided. They find the gold bars, and now they know it actually came from this guy because the gold bars are registered to the real estate guy.
Bribe. Just a disaster for this guy, and he's sitting there, all confident, saying, "Oh, we're going to go through the rule of law, and the court system. Everybody gets their day in court. Blah 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 blah. This is just another corruption scandal. Probably won't go to prison, but I think what does it do? It speaks to the bigger picture, which is what do we know? Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, the brother. What's the brother's name of the Bidens?
Was it Jeff? Dipshit.
Yeah, dipshit Biden. Everybody's on the dole. Everybody's on the take. And I think what we're going to see is we're going to continue to see more and more stories come out.
Sure, it's like an iceberg. 10% of it's above water. 90% of it's below water.
That's a great analogy. What did you say, Justin?
Frank Biden.
That's right. Frank Biden. Yeah. And I mean, you can see the type of people these people are. I mean, Frank Biden and Hunter seem to have a lot in common, making, naked videos of themselves and performing sexual acts. I mean, this is who these people are. It's an embarrassment. But, I think we're going to see here in the next couple months and over the next year and probably longer, all these politicians are taking bribes. That's the whole point of this exercise. And more exposure is going to come out about it. And I think, that's what we want to cover here. We want to keep exposing this type of information. And this platform, I think, has been really...
Yeah, put a spotlight on some of these things happening. And that you're not necessarily going to see in the mainstream media. One thing I read today, and just to kind of change topics just a little bit, is Wells Fargo's anticipating spending $750 million to $1 billion on severance packages on the layoffs they're about to do in Q4 of this year and early next year in 2024. Right. And that's just Wells Fargo. And, this stuff gets reported on CNBC. I never hear anybody talking about it. You couple that with PNC, the 5th largest bank in the U.S., shuttering 300-400 locations over the last year and a half. All of them. And so, just keep in mind, these banks are really hurting. They're on the verge. They're cracking. They're going to start consolidating, going under bail-ins. Who knows what's going to come of it. But when you start seeing 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 of these things, over a couple month span, and it's just going to escalate from there, just keep in mind, if you have all your money in a bank, if it's all digits on a screen, you're putting yourself, I would consider, at the highest risk level.
Yeah, you don't want exposure in these banks as they're closing up. I mean, you're literally seeing these banks close up. And I feel like for us, what we're really fighting with a lot of the conversations we have here in-house is like, it's cognitive dissonance. It's like it's happening in front of your eyes, but it's like, okay, what are you doing about it? Right. Your money's not safe in these banks. As Juan said in our interview with Juan 07, is they're just dots and teetles on a screen. It's digital. The money really isn't there. You couldn't go to your bank and just all of a sudden take out your money one day. It doesn't happen. And that's where you have to kind of find the balance between, okay, Juan even talked about, hey, put it in land. If you see an opportunity, go buy some land. Put your money into collectibles. Collectibles can be a very good place to do it.
Trying to find a place to put your money for it to work for you. And that typically always works when the economy and things aren't broken, right? And things are fixed and they're working the way
when
they
America's
should.
working as a country. Exactly.
Right. When you get into situations where,
things aren't working.
We have a looming recession coming. We have unemployment numbers that are, in my opinion, going to explode through the roof. The repossession numbers are going to go through the roof. The consumer credit card debt is over $1 trillion, right? There's a lot of things coming over the next year that I think are going to make things very instable, right? And you want to get your money out of the market.
Yeah, I mean, what Juan said was basically, when America's working, right? When America's working properly, the stock market and all these, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, these are great places to park your money, right? Because that money's being put to use, right? It's producing something. You get a piece of that production, right? But when the country's not working and, right, the country's not using as much energy, for example, right, the country's not going to be producing very much. And when you have these morons, right, running the country, running it into the ground for that matter, you have $33 trillion of debt. It's like you don't expect consequences from that. You don't expect something to break, right? So where what I would call stocks, bonds, mutual funds, those would be classified as working assets that are working for you. Whereas gold and silver, it's just a medium of exchange. It's something where I think in the next, as Juan estimates, year to year and a half, is when we should really see everything hit the fan. That's where the opportunities are. That's what excites me, is deploying my money at that point, right, where everything bottoms out. Markets, real estate, collectible cars, if that's your thing.
But you got to keep your purchasing power somehow.
You got to keep your purchasing power, because when the government creates things like inflation, where I think of your money as your life energy. And when the government creates inflation, well, that's devaluing the time you put in years ago into whatever your job is. It's devaluing that time. And that's what this government does. Is it's a satanic group. These people literally are out for your, not just your money, but they look at it more as your life energy. And I think when you look at money in terms of, not just of things you can buy, but what you've your blood, sweat, and tears, right? We all work hard for it. It's like that's what these people want to take from you is your time and your energy.
Right. And inflation's the ultimate tax, right? It's essentially stealing.
The hidden tax, right?
Right. And what they try to tell you is, hey, 2% inflation's good, right? We need to keep adding money to the supply. But you get a situation where we're at now where, hey, we just came off a year where we had 7, 8, 9, 10% inflation, right? On the numbers that they cook. So it's probably higher. Then they come around this year and they say, well, inflation's only at 4%. Well, no, it's at 9% the year before, 4% this year. You just paid 13% over the last 2 years. The idea I hear people walk around saying, inflation's only at 4%. We're bringing it back. No. You got to start from the original number where we were at. I don't understand how people...
Like how they calculate in the 80s.
Yeah, well, I keep hearing inflation's going down, but nothing I buy is getting cheaper. Maybe gas a little bit's come down, but there's nothing in the grocery store. There's nothing at the restaurants. There's no toys for my daughter.
It's just the politicians. They're just moving the goalposts, right? How things are calculated. It's all nonsensical. I mean, we just saw a statistic yesterday that they spent $450 billion already on illegals in this country. $450 billion. Factor in money to Ukraine, money to Israel, probably Hamas too. You're talking trillion.
Absolutely. I mean,
over $1 trillion.
They want to free another $6 billion for Iran. What? After all this? Like what? I mean, it's just kind of the timing's just so. It's like read the room, dude.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because then you have downtown Chicago where the black residents are going to sue the black mayor because they're losing all of their, I don't want to call them subsidies to illegals, right? So the food shelters, the places to sleep, the help, and now it's all going toward illegals. So even the low class, people in America are getting upset at the liberal side because they're getting forgotten about. And that's what we have to remember, in my opinion, is that these uniparty, left or right, they don't really care about us. They see us as a number. They see us as a digit on the screen, essentially. And whatever agenda they're going toward, it's not for the people of this country, right? And I think it's pretty obvious for everybody to see.
And just one other thing to add was, I think what I heard through an information source that I really respect, China and Iran are now going to be invading South America. And it makes sense with Brazil going full-blown communist.
Right.
So they've already got sort of the government set up that they need. You have an invasion here at the border where they stopped, Chinese nationals. Mm-hmm. Right? We saw that video of the Chinese nationals. You definitely have...
There's 500 of them that passed within an hour. Mm-hmm. But they're all from China. They're all, it should say...
military-aged men.
Yeah.
Hamas, I've heard Al-Qaeda's been here since the early 2010s. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've heard that they have cells here in Arizona, actually. Yeah. So it gets scary, and this is where I think the locality of where you live starts to become important. I mean, as red of a state as Arizona is, it's still scary, and that's why people have to, arm yourselves, get your ammo, get your storables, right? You could see war break out on the streets. I was listening to Nino's Corner with Juan, another interview prior to when we had spoken to him, and even Juan, he didn't explicitly say it, but he left open the possibility that there could be war in the streets. There could be some skirmishes, pockets of skirmishes here and there. Will it happen here? Who knows? But, you certainly, if you're living in a place like California or New York, specifically New York City, get out. Get out. It's not worth it, right? Go move to Florida. Go move to Texas, right? These are probably great places to live over the next 5 and 10 years.
Tennessee, South Carolina.
Absolutely.
Wherever.
Absolutely. You really got to start thinking of these things. So anything you wanted to add?
Nope. If just on a sidebar, I watched Tucker Carlson on All In podcast yesterday. It came out, I think, last Friday.
Was it the Roseanne episode?
No. He actually went on their podcast.
Oh, right.
Just Tucker Carlson. Gotcha. He's so good, and when you listen to him talk, so philosophical, and the way and why people do things, and
he
how they
articulates
act.
it very well.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try to paraphrase it, but if you get an opportunity, watch that podcast. Entertaining. He's awesome. Kind of a dark horse for VP. But in that podcast, he pretty much says no, I'm not interested in doing that. Is what it is. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to cover. Had an awesome time. Thank you, Midas Gold Group, for sponsoring this. Give us a call if you have any questions.
And you can always text 232425 to where, Justin? Text boomerang to 232425. And that'll get you directly in touch with us. Unless you want to just give us a call, you can call our main number. We'll put that on the screen below. And just ask for me or Drew, and we're happy to talk to you. And like I said, we don't want to just sell people gold or silver. We want to give you a lens. We want to get to know you here on the podcast and take it from there. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.